Live now from Fox regarding that story out of Pennsylvania. Live look right now at the White House as we just heard from Caroline Leavitt moments ago speaking on the Epstein files, also talking about the Wall Street Journal saying that they will not be part of the press pool when President Trump does travel abroad. So again, just some early remarks from Caroline Leavitt earlier today, and we'll play that out for you in full a little bit later this evening. But now I do want to showcase to you Secretary Noam of Homeland Security speaking on the Border Patrol agent that was shot. This was an ICE member that was shot over the weekend and out in New York. Let's listen in. I'm live now from Fox.
Dangerously by violent criminals that have been run loose here in New York City, but also in this country as a result of sanctuary city policies and the policies of the Biden administration. I just want you all to know that we have our hearts and our prayers going out with our officer and with his family and his friends, and we'll be lifting him up in prayer for his quick recovery and his healing from this terrible tragedy that has befallen him. Listen, our officer was off duty on Saturday evening when him and his friend were attacked. They were attacked by two individuals that were set on robbing them, and thankfully he had his service weapon with him and was able to defend himself and his friend and injured one of those individuals that was trying to do them harm. His quick action speaks to his tenacity and his excellence in training and skill, and because of that, one of the perpetrators was wounded in this interaction and was incarcerated when he came in to get medical treatment. One of the suspected attackers, the one that was injured, his name is Miguel Francisco Mora Nunez, a Dominican national that was entering into this country illegally back in 2023. He was then released back into this country by the Biden administration. Miguel Francisco Mora Nunez is and has a rap sheet that is a mile long. He was arrested. He was charged with grand larceny and also assault. The state of Massachusetts has an active warrant out for him for armed robbery with a firearm. He also has many other charges against him, such as kidnapping and witness intimidation. There's absolutely zero reason that someone who is scum of the earth like this should be running loose on the streets of New York City. He was arrested 4 different times in New York City, and because of the mayor's policies and sanctuary city policies, was released back to do harm to people and to individuals living in this city. Make no mistake, this officer is in the hospital today fighting for his life because of the policies of the mayor of this city and the city council and the people that were in.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Well, good afternoon to you and welcome into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer and thanks for joining us on this Monday afternoon live on Fox Local and on YouTube. It's 4 o'clock and that means it's time for today's Top 4 at 4, where we break down 4 of the big stories that we're tracking in the Fox 35 newsroom today. And joining me for today's Top 4 at 4, Fox 35 News anchor John Brown. John, we appreciate you joining us.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Monday. So just like that, Stephan Sterns' trial is over. The man who was accused of attacking and killing Maddie Soto last year and also sexually abusing her was in court today. So again, his trial is supposed to start tomorrow, but just like that, he changed his plea, and here's how it went down in court today.
Sterns, how do you plea to first-degree premeditated murder in 24 CF 1293?
No contest.
And as to counts 1 through 8, capital sexual battery of Madeline Soto while she was under the age of 12. Counts 9 through 13, sexual battery of Madeline Soto between the ages of 12 and 18. And counts 14 through 20, lewd or lascivious molestation. How do you plead?
Guilty.
All right, a couple of separate pleas here. First of all, no contest. You heard first-degree murder in the death of Maddie Soto, but pleaded guilty to several charges of sexual battery. So the big part of this is it eliminates the family having to hear all the gruesome details in a trial, which nobody wanted to do. And as part of the plea agreement, the prosecutors decided not to pursue the death penalty. So Sterns now sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Now, shortly after the plea, Maddie Soto's father spoke out about his daughter.
The last time I saw her was in October of 2023, and she had come to visit for a few days. And when I took her back to the airport, I said, you know, you're turning 13 soon. When you turn 13, you have a choice of which guardian you're interested in staying with. Would you like to stay with me and talk to you? And she said yes, that she would. And so I was this close to having my little girl, sir. Because of the actions of this depraved man, I will never meet the woman she was becoming. And I can't grasp it. I can't grasp the selfishness of you, the deplorability of your actions. You're depraved. You're weak. You're a coward. You're a sneak thief. You crept into a family and took advantage and exploited them when they were weak.
It's just heartbreaking to hear. Yeah, from him and from several other members of the family, loved ones, friends as well who spoke. Just heartbreaking to hear them talk about the impact that this has had. You
know, when you talk about closure, a lot of people who do these impact statements say, you think you're going to get closure, you don't get closure. You never get closure. I mean, he doesn't admit, you don't want to hear the details, but I think on some other level, I talked to a psychologist one time, and they said until people hear the details, they can't move forward. So it's kind of a lose-lose for everybody in this situation. So, okay, the judge also, he gave a sentence today. Okay, the judge had the sentence that handed down here that I guess puts the whole story to bed. Here's what he said.
As to first-degree premeditated murder of Madeline Soto, you are adjudicated guilty and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. As to the capital sexual battery of Madeline Soto while she was under the age of 12, for each count you are sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. For the sexual battery of Madeline Soto between the ages of 12 and 18, you are adjudicated guilty and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. For the lewd and lascivious molestation of Madeline Soto, you are sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. These sentences will run concurrently, meaning at the same time. The state of Florida has withdrawn their notice of intent to seek the penalty of death. These are the maximum sentences permitted to the court.
One other point about it, getting rid of the death penalty is it doesn't prolong, at least for the family, it does not prolong this journey as well, because that is a process that takes years and years and years before it is ever final.
Well, think about these families who had, 9 or 10 death penalty cases already. We've already surpassed last year. These families move on. You're 25 years now past the murder. This one recently in Tampa, I think it was. 2 people. I think it was mother and a daughter in that case. There's a lot of them kind of tied together here. 25 years. You think you've moved past it mentally, you get dragged right back into it all again. And so this just kind of puts him away, that you don't have to hear from him again. But we did get to hear from him one more time before he goes to prison. Here's what he had to say.
Yes, Your Honor, I would like to make a brief statement. I agree that it's not fair that Madeline is not here anymore. I still have a hard time contemplating a world where she's not around, a world which feels less vibrant and less colorful than it did before. I've prayed to God countless times to trade places with her, to take me instead. But unfortunately, that's just not how he works. I have nothing but sorrow for her loss, and I miss her all the time. Her passing has torn me and my family apart as well, and she truly was a joy. I pray to God that she is in heaven and that he's taking good care of her. And I hope she gets to join the choir because she had a beautiful voice. I will miss her all the time. I will never not honor her memory. And I apologize for all the pain.
I apologize for all the pain. The only words of apology we heard, and I do know from other folks that we talked to that that statement that he made kind of rubs some folks the wrong way.
Yeah, and I don't know what you say in a case like this that doesn't sound self-aggrandizing, whatever the word might be there. But one other thing about this story here. So Jen Soto didn't talk today. I don't know if people expected her to. So you'd like to think we're done with this trial. I normally don't say this about trials that just wrap up, but it's to acknowledge what we see on social media because we see the same stuff you do. A lot of people think there's more to come on this case. Yes, it put Stephan Sterns away, but I don't know if it's going to go anywhere from here. It could be over, but you know, when you have the social media class out there, and have you seen I had joined the pages right after she disappeared. Mm-hmm. There are hundreds of pages.
Yes.
And people still don't think it's over. For some of the things they say still don't add up. So I don't know if this is over. So we'll see where it goes from here. Okay, how about this one? It is official. Former Senator Blaise Ingoglia has been sworn in as the state's new chief financial officer. The Florida Supreme Court Justice John Coriel gave the oath. Ingoglia's wife, Julie, was also there, held the Bible during the ceremony at the Florida Capitol Cabinet Room today. Said, "It's an honor to be bestowed upon me." Okay, now this has also turned political as well, right? First of all, most states don't even have a chief financial officer. Sometimes it's called a treasurer. So if you're saying, we have a CFO, we do, and now it's turned political. So the governor actually trusted him. Longtime friend here. They've known each other for years and years and years and years, which is how the governor normally appoints people to these. It had been left vacant after Jimmy Patronis resigned to run for Congress. Okay, so this is going to come back up again. So you remember the name because we're going to be talking about it again next year. MAGA supporters thought it was controversial because President Trump wanted someone else, Joe Gruters, for that position. And if I remember the quote right, I don't know if you have it here, the statement from the governor here.
I don't.
So his statement about Joe Gruters today was, "I wouldn't appoint Joe. He has a spine of linguine." So, is this story over? No stories in Florida politics are ever truly over. Let me say that one.
Well, didn't appoint him, but he is likely going to be running for this because this is going to be on the ballot next year. So,
spine of linguine.
Going to be interesting to see. Yeah, but we did hear from...
I love Florida politics.
Yeah, I mean, you have to. Yeah. We did hear from Blaise Ingoglia today talking about his goals for the office.
I'm going to wake up every day with one goal in mind, to make sure that we continue on this path that Governor DeSantis has laid us upon and make sure this state continues to be the greatest state of the union and the greatest state we have ever seen. D.C. is going in a complete opposite direction of what Florida is. We have become the shining light for every other state out there. When Florida does something, other states listen. They try to copy and emulate. Florida is leading, and I look forward to continue to lead, to keep my campaign promises, to work hard for the people of the state of Florida, and make this place the best state to live, work, and play.
Why do I feel like Florida politics, like Republican on Republican crime right now?
Yeah.
Every time you turn around, it's
been one thing after another lately. Yeah.
It's because they have no competition. Right? They know they can say anything. They're still going to stay in power. But I like to point this out too, because attorneys in political class are different. I just watched a friend of mine in court recently, and I mean, he tore the other attorney apart, just killed him. I mean, he doesn't know what he's doing. We're playing golf together the next week. They're buddies. I'm like, how do you just say that to him and then he's golfing with us the next week? He's like, that's the job. Okay, right? So that's the job. If you have to appoint a guy and you got a lot of people giving you money to appoint this, that's the job. Sometimes it's personal, because you saw Trump and DeSantis at Alligator Alcatraz the other day.
Yeah.
Buddies, hugging, chumming it up. And then it's back to this. So
yeah, it's interesting to watch, an interesting dynamic, interesting tension at times.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that CFO race is going to get really interesting. I think just another one to watch next year.
I love covering the CFO races in the state because everybody's like, we have what? Yeah, we have one.
And they're also the state fire marshal.
I know, right?
Who would have thought?
I know. Which one's the one on the gas pumps? You're like, wait, why is this guy over the gas pumps?
Agriculture.
Right, ag,
yeah.
right. Oh, but let's put it under ag. I'm like, how did somebody got paid? All right, next one here. An Orlando business trying to pick up the pieces after a car rammed into their shop. Here's a look at this one. This is just crazy here. Happened at the market on South on Orlando's Milk District. That was Sunday morning. According to surveillance video, the driver backed out of a neighboring parking lot, rammed right into the Market on South there, which is a big vegan eatery down there. According to some people on the scene, whoever was in the car opened the door, threw up, closed the door, and then did that. You think they're looking for a DUI suspect? Police say they are. So the owners of the business, I mean, this place is really cool. If you haven't been down there, it's really cool. They say the thing you can do, come down here and shop with us, help us out, because small business, not a lot of extra cash, so they need some help. So hopefully everybody gets down there. It's a cool place.
Yeah, that's a good point. Just show support for those businesses because this is now something that they're a headache for them.
And police are looking for a car that has a lot of damage on the back. And you see why? Let's see. It's going to have a little damage on the back, on the side, driver's side.
Probably
it's going to have a scrape
left.
that looks something like a picnic table on the left side. So be on the lookout for that one. He has blinker on leaving. I mean, look at this.
At least
he's going to run again.
At least he signals his intentions.
Tell me that. Okay, run it again. Can you run that one again? Do you have it up one more time?
Yeah, I can pull it again.
I just caught that. As he's leaving, does he really turn on his blinker? Look at this. Pulls out, right-hand side of the car.
One less thing he can be cited for. He or she.
Oh, maybe I saw that right. The blinker comes on. I got to merge into traffic. Okay.
That's better than a lot of drivers we see.
He was aware enough to use the blinker, which most people in Florida can't.
That's a good point.
Okay, and here we go again, right? The Lake Mary Little League team has won it again. They clinched the state championship. No one's even getting close to these guys. They're so good. Third consecutive year they won it. Dominated Bayshore 10-0. Lake Mary now is heading off to their next round here. That's going to be up in Georgia. Of course, they won the Little League World Series back in 2024. Moment we will all remember because we had the parade right here in our backyard too. So
yeah, it was so cool. Would love to see them make another run and celebrate again. Also really cool because they have a player who is helping represent Team USA, going to Taiwan.
Cool. Yeah.
So, I mean, just really cool things happening from this Lake Mary Little League program.
Yeah, and it's great, yeah. And to have the celebration we had last year and seeing these guys again, let's do it again.
Yep.
We're running back again.
We wish them luck. Well, John, we appreciate you joining us.
Guys.
That is today's Top 4 at 4. Please signal, turn on your turn signal on the way out of here.
As I head out of here, I'm going to turn it on.
And we'll be right back with more Fox 35 News Plus after this.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist TJ Springer joins me now. And TJ, this heat and humidity, I mean, we just got more of it out there today. It was a hot weekend. I don't know how people stayed cool. It wasn't easy.
Yeah, I feel like it's wild, Garrett. Like walking out, I mean, we know it's hot in Florida this time of the year, but this heat has been brutal. It just hits you like a ton of bricks as soon as you walk outside, especially from being in like the air conditioning.
Yeah, it makes you want to go right back into the air conditioning as soon as you go back out there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to find the silver linings. As we head through the remainder of the week, I do think we're going to cool off, but we're going to trade the heat for the rain. That's what we're going to switch to. So I think if, you're getting out and about and trying to get some things done in the afternoon, it's definitely going to be a little wetter. I know it's been a drier last few days. We haven't had too many showers and thunderstorms. We've still had a few, but even today, we're seeing more of that widespread coverage on Fox 35 Storm Tracker radar. This is our exclusive radar out of Eastern Orange County in Bithlo. We can see these showers and thunderstorms inbound thanks to this boundary that is sagging into northern Florida, and that's the lift that is generating these showers and thunderstorms. We've had a couple of warnings off to our north, some rain, some good lightning too across portions of Lake County, getting into Seminole County. We've seen this kind of shifting southbound. This is just to the west of essentially Orange City, Deltona, west of I-4. That's continuing to move from Volusia County about into Seminole County. So it's definitely going to be kind of a rough drive through that if you're out and about here across the metro. We also have a few more downpours that are east of Orlando. In the eastern Orange County, we're seeing some of these just to the west of Christmas, essentially right on top of our radar right now. We can also see some more up across Lake Jessup, Chuliota, along the 417. So if that's a route you have to take, you could be encountering some lightning, and some heavy rain as well with those thunderstorms. The big picture, we have this ridge of high pressure in the Gulf. That's what's driving everything. But we now have this area of low pressure that looks to form in the vicinity of this front with some upstairs energy as we progress through the next couple of days. That's going to mean our rain chances will be on the increase. We can see some of the more ominous looking conditions, some of those downpours from our Grills Lakeside cam peering eastbound over Lake Fairview here this afternoon, and it is definitely hot. We have the instability fueled from that heat and humidity, and that's what's made for some of these stronger storms. Right now, we have temperatures in the upper 90s in Kissimmee, a little better near the beaches, 80 in Daytona, 92 in Titusville, but many of us are sitting in the mid to even upper 90s, and it's feeling even worse. It's feeling like the triple digits. We have those heat indices or those feels like temps up around 110 degrees in Winter Haven, a little bit better near the coast again, but many of us have been feeling this brutal heat, and that's why we have this heat advisory in effect through 6 o'clock tonight. So if you have plans to get out over the next few hours, make sure you're not overdoing it outside in this sultry atmosphere. And that continues through our Tuesday and Wednesday, but it won't be quite as bad. I don't think we'll have heat advisories, but that heat starts to ramp back up this weekend as that ridge of high pressure starts to build once again in the Atlantic toward Florida. Tonight, we're back down into the mid-70s with some hit-or-miss showers and thunderstorms. Tomorrow, more widespread rain. That's why it's an impact day. We could have some flooding concerns as well. Some areas could pick up a healthy amount of rain. Yet again, kind of like last week when we had Invest 93L. We'll see that here on Futurecast. This is our Fox weather model. Through the remainder of our evening, we can see these scattered showers and thunderstorms drifting southbound, fizzling out through the wee hours of our Tuesday. And then Tuesday morning into the afternoon, we start to see more showers and thunderstorms becoming more numerous, and we'll see these dancing across the peninsula through 3 o'clock, through dinner time tomorrow. Not all of us seeing rain at one time, but still some healthy downpours for sure as we head through our day tomorrow and again into our Wednesday with amounts for some of us over 2 inches. There could be some isolated amounts, maybe between 3 and 4 inches with all the moisture. It's supercharged in the atmosphere, and that's going to make for some of that torrential rain. We do have a low-end risk of flooding for all of us heading into the day tomorrow. It's a marginal risk. We're 1 out of 4. So not a great chance of flash flooding, but still, if you get in on one of those downpours and it just continues to hang out over you, that flooding could become a possibility. So we'll be watching that closely. We're also keeping tabs on the tropics. We now have Invest 94L in the Caribbean, heading toward the Lesser Antilles. Thankfully, this is going to run into a really hostile environment. More dust, more wind shear. So right now, chances only around 10% of a formation from the per the National Hurricane Center or from the National Hurricane Center. It's disorganized. I don't think it'll thread the needle and become something, but we'll be watching closely nonetheless. Now, our Fox 35 Storm Team 7-day shows the impact days tomorrow and Wednesday for the heavy rain. Still some showers and thunderstorms around Thursday into Friday, but chances definitely becoming less. and we are expecting, chances to stay somewhat minimal as we head through this weekend into early next week. And I do think that's where we'll have the potential for still some stray storms, Garrett, but I would say with the ridging, the heat becomes the big story. I would almost imagine that we're going to be dealing with more heat advisories, possibly early next week, possibly this weekend. So we trade again, the rain back for the heat.
Yeah, it's deja vu all over again for multiple reasons.
I'm like ready to fly north to a much colder locale. I mean, even I'll take the 80s. I'll take anything. It is a steamy mess out there right now.
Yeah, not the nicest to spend a lot of time outside in, I can tell you that.
Even the pool, I hopped in the pool this weekend and it was hot. Like the water,
yeah.
I mean, it was better than not being in the water, but even that, I was like, wow, this water has gotten a lot warmer with all of this heat.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to stay cool, that's for sure. Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist TJ Springer, we appreciate you joining us.
Thanks, Garrett.
We're going to take a break and we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Monday afternoon, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. Microsoft has put out an emergency fix that they said will help close a vulnerability that was discovered over the weekend in Microsoft SharePoint software. So this is something that's widely used by companies, by government agencies all around the world. And this is a pretty serious exploit that was uncovered that allowed hackers to actually access file systems in certain instances. Earlier today, I spoke with Matt Rose. He's the CXO of TechRage IT in Winter Springs, and he told us a little bit more about what this problem was, how it's being addressed, and what you need to know about it.
There was a vulnerability in some old, I don't want to say older versions of SharePoint, but what I think the majority of people now think of SharePoint as what they get with their Microsoft 365 subscription, just like your email or your Teams. Those are not affected, but some large organizations or maybe some kind of legacy organizations are still running SharePoint on a server in their organizations where they're sort of maintaining it themselves in the same way people used to maintain email servers themselves. So there was a vulnerability in some older versions that for the most part have been patched, but it was actively potentially being exploited right now.
How widespread of an issue is this then?
It's pretty widespread, but you're likely, if you're watching this as a small business or even a medium business where you do everything with Microsoft 365 and when you go to SharePoint, you just kind of click the link that comes with it. And an easy way to tell is that if you see your link as your company name -share.sharepoint.com, then you're on SharePoint Online. If you see something different that may be like a generic link .yourcompanyname.com, you might be running it internally. But it's pretty widespread. I think that, what they're mentioning right now is they're reaching out to government agencies and some larger companies. That's where the worry is, because somebody who is a larger company has been running and using SharePoint for a long time. It could have some pretty bad effects.
Especially because this was something that was not known before until this was exposed.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's how most vulnerabilities typically work. And in a way, sometimes when this happens, where like if you have a researcher that kind of helps find it before it gets too bad, it's better than when if you think about someone that has a ransomware event, you find out unfortunately too late. In this case, hopefully the fact that the research is coming out and that it's a vulnerability, yes, you've just told all the attackers, yeah, we know about your vulnerability, but it also is kind of a race to getting it fixed now. But it's out there. Yeah, it's going to be a rough day for some IT admins out there, and hopefully people get through the patches. And it's certainly, from a PR standpoint, Microsoft has to deal with this all the time. Today it's SharePoint, tomorrow it could be, unfortunately, any of the other software that they provide.
And this it seems like a pretty serious vulnerability as well that can allow them to have full access to the file systems.
Yeah, the way that SharePoint, and again, whether you're SharePoint Online or if you're going to use this kind of application, if you will, this standalone, the way that Microsoft systems are done, and it's funny, it's like you can look at it, it's a feature that SharePoint and Microsoft Teams and Outlook and all the other applications Microsoft makes tie in together. It's a feature, right? That you could be accessing a file and kind of send a message and link the file to Teams. But it also becomes a security vulnerability. And with what this is, if they were to exploit this vulnerability, they actually can get access and potentially administrative functions in other applications that are linked to SharePoint, which in a Microsoft world is pretty much everything, which is, again, by design, because it makes your life easier. But then when a security thing happens, it makes the potential threat so much wider.
Is that the trade-off, Matt, when we're talking about, kind of this day and age and technology and all these things that do make things more convenient, but if there is a vulnerability like this one, all those things are tied in.
That's exactly the trade-off. And in some senses, you can look at it from a positive security. But in a lot of cases, yes, the more you put your eggs in one basket, really, it's great for efficiency. It does have some advantages security-wise, but then it has these disadvantages. We look at all the times that if you are a full Microsoft shop, a full Google shop, and when I say shop, I mean you're using all the Google products and the Microsoft products. And when you do that, it's great because you give a new employee access and they get access to everything they need. And then if they leave the company, you disable one account, and that's great. But then if there's a vulnerability, you're like, oh boy, how many different things did this get into? So, but then the trade-off is if you didn't use SharePoint and you use some sort of other document management system, you're creating accounts, you're creating multiple accounts. You could still have a vulnerability, but when something happens, you sit there and go like, okay, where do I have to disable? Where do I have to update? So it's sort of the nature of the beast we're dealing with. And it's a trade-off, but it's also kind of, you kind of weigh your options. Nothing is perfect.
We know there's a patch released for some of these, that applies to some of the impacted. At least, what should people do if this does impact them? What's kind of the word of advice right now?
Yeah, I would say that if this is impacting you, likely you're already on an IT or security team that has likely been getting multiple emails and is likely already patching it, I hope. The patches are out there. There's one version, I think they said it's a version from 2016 that isn't patched just yet. I would think the simplistic thing that if you have that is, unfortunately, you're probably going to have to take it offline until there is a patch, or you're going to have to really just kind of put it off on its own island and, kind of isolate it from itself. But yeah, I think the easy thing is patch. And then if you think anything happened, run any sort of security scans, talk to a security professional if you want to check in and see if anything was exploited in that time frame. But the patch is by far and away the first thing you should do. And again, if you're on that one version that isn't patched, I'm sure something's going to come out soon. I'm sure Microsoft's going to have something, but I would assume you want to isolate that service away from the rest of your environment.
Bigger picture, what should we keep in mind? What should we learn from this? What can we learn from it?
It's a kind of, I think it's a lesson we talk about a lot, is that, you know, all these tools, all these things we do make our lives so much easier every day, and will continue to do things, and they'll get better in their efficiency. Security is always there, and there's always a bad guy and luckily in some cases a good guy looking for the things that bad guys would do or would put out there in order to try to to try to exploit us. And we just need to look that you can use all these cool things, you can use all this new AI stuff and whatever it is, but always know that you have to pay close attention to your vendors. When there's patches, you have to pay close attention to the news. You want to have a trusted IT or security person or partner out there as well, because in this sense, we read this and we realized our clients aren't affected by this, but if they were, we would be responsible to help them find a way to patch through. So if you should have somebody you trust that can help guide you as to what to do, because this one is, you know, only affecting these people. The next one could affect everybody. And so you just need to know that you have somebody you can trust or have a way you can get things fixed if this does affect you.
We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we will be right back after this.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Monday afternoon. A 49-year-old Eustis man arrested, now facing charges after police say his 5-year-old son accidentally shot himself in the head. Joining us live now via Zoom to talk about this story is Fox 35's Stephanie Buffamonte. Has been looking into this and learning a little bit more about it. Stephanie, what can you tell us?
Yes, we got some new interesting details today about kind of how this happened and how the child got a hold of the gun. So we learned from a new police report that the 5-year-old child is autistic and he liked to sleep in the bed with his dad because his father said he often slept with him because when he would wake up in the middle of the night and didn't see anyone there, he would have a fit. So he said this one night he put his gun under his pillow in the bed, and then he woke up in the morning, went to the bathroom, said he didn't even remember that it was there, then walked around the house for a little bit. He said in about 10 minutes, he heard this, what he described as a pow. And he goes to the room and he sees his little boy, the 5-year-old boy, and blood. So then after that, they go to their neighbor's house, who just so happened to be a police officer and a trauma flight nurse, who ended up, helping to save this little boy, who is now recovering and in rehab. But the new details that we're learning today, which are pretty disturbing, is that he was sleeping in the bed with his child with a gun under the pillow. And they did say he took responsibility for what he did, and took accountability for it.
What do we know about this man now facing and the charges he's now facing?
Yeah, so he is facing several charges of child neglect and bear with me. Negligence is the other one. So facing those two charges, and they say that he had several guns in the house. They found 7 other guns inside the house, and they were all not in a safe. He said that he did not have a safe. But in his defense to officers, he was saying that they were all in places that were high, that a child wouldn't be able to grab. But he said in this instance, he normally, doesn't put his gun under a pillow, but that night he had. And just a few quotes from him from the police report. Like I said, officers said that, he seemed remorseful and took responsibility for his actions. And I'm going to read these here. He told officers, quote, "I never sleep with my gun under me. Last night I did, and this is my consequence." He also went on to say, quote, "I take every bit of accountability for failing to protect my son. I did not ever in my life would ever put my kids in danger knowingly that I did," end quote. And then, of course, now he's behind bars because his son got a hold of the weapon and unfortunately shot himself in the head.
All right, a sad story there. Fox 35, Stephanie Buffamonte, we appreciate you bringing us that update today.
Thank you.
We do also have an update now from the state attorney's office. This new statement coming in that I want to read to you, reacting to the sentencing of Stephan Sterns that we carried live for you here on Fox 35 News Plus earlier today. This statement coming from State Attorney Monique Worrell from the 9th Judicial Circuit, and I'm just going to read it, so bear with me here, reading from this statement we just got in our email in the Fox 35 newsroom. Quote, "I want to extend my deepest condolences to the Soto family and everyone who loved Madeline. Her life was stolen in a senseless act of violence, and the pain of that loss is immeasurable. While nothing we do can bring Madeline back, I hope her family finds some measure of peace knowing that justice has been served. The individual responsible has been sentenced to 21 concurrent life sentences and will never walk free again. He has also waived all of his rights to appeal, ensuring finality and sparing the family from reliving this trauma in courtrooms for years to come. Our office conducted a meticulous review of this case, and every step we took was in close consultation with Madeline's family. This outcome reflects their wishes. It holds the accused fully accountable while also protecting the family from further anguish. We remain committed to seeking justice in a way that centers victims and honors the lives that are taken far too soon," end quote. We are going to take a quick break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us. Just before we went to break, read you that news statement from the state attorney for the 9th Judicial Circuit, Monique Worrell, talking about the sentencing of Stephan Sterns today after he pleaded no contest to murder, pleaded guilty to a number of counts in the sexual battery case against him. He was charged in connection with the rape and murder of 13-year-old Maddie Soto. And today in court, we heard from a lot of loved ones, family members, friends, talking about the impact that losing Maddie has had on them. Many of them with strong words for Stephan Sterns, talking to him as well. Fox 35's Randy Hildreth was inside the courtroom for that hearing, and had the chance to speak with her earlier in our extended coverage this afternoon here on Fox Local about what it was like inside the courtroom, and she was able to give us a little more insight than what we were just able to tell from watching it. So I'm going to play it for you as I ask Randy, and she talks about the weight and some of the emotion that you really could feel inside that courtroom in Osceola County earlier today.
Yeah, just to give you context, I was sitting directly behind him, so could not see his facial expressions. But as I watched him, as people were giving their impact statements, or impact statements were being read on behalf of family members, he did not turn to look towards the person who was reading or speaking before the judge and the courtroom, and he sat very still. I will point out that, you know, in court, sometimes it was difficult to hear certain things because, you know, the nature of what was being discussed today, certainly pretty solemn. And so when state attorneys were speaking, their voices were a little bit lower. When the defense team was speaking, their voices were a little bit lower. But when Sterns was asked certain questions throughout today's plea hearing, he spoke pretty confidently, as if he had processed or come to terms with what was going on today. So couldn't see his facial expressions per se, but in his demeanor, in the way that he sat and the way that he spoke with a sense of confidence about what was unfolding today in the courtroom.
Dr. Slaughter and I have talked a lot about the statement that Sterns made at the end of the hearing and some of the things he said, some of the ways, talking about missing Maddie, not making any sort of apology or that kind of thing. What was the reaction from family members as they're hearing this and processing this?
Yeah, and if you see me looking around, I'm pulling up my notes from court. I was pretty surprised to hear that Sterns was going to speak today. It was at the very end. I saw him turn towards his attorney, Ms. Alicia Smith, and there was a brief conversation. And right before things wrapped up, you know, she announced to the court and to the judge that he had something to say. So I was interested to see and hear what he had to say, especially after hearing such powerful statements from family and friends, and those who knew and loved Maddie. And sorry, we have a lot of motion around me. We're right outside of the courtroom, and within the last maybe 8 minutes or so, spoke with the attorney who is representing Tyler Wallace. That is Maddie Soto's dad, and he gave an impact statement. The attorney spoke on behalf of him after court wrapped up today, and she said, I can't speak on behalf of I can't tell you what Mr. Wallace may be thinking as he heard what Stephan Sterns had to say today. But she says from her perspective, she felt like it was disgusting, that he would apologize or that he spoke in the way that he did following everything that he heard. I want to discuss some of the things that he said. I think the last thing he told the judge was, I will miss her all the time. I will never not honor her memory, and I apologize for the pain. I think that was his last statement wrapping up his sentiments to the judge and to the family. I would say throughout just the impact statements, and when the family heard that Sterns was going to speak, you could hear almost shifting in the courtroom of people moving in their seats, maybe as surprised as I was that he was going to say something. And there was almost a beat in the courtroom when he made that last sentence, I will always miss her. I apologize for the pain, considering everything that they are feeling right now. And there was, from my perspective, I could feel a little bit of tension in the room because a lot of the family members, and you all were watching and listening along, a lot of them had some very strong things to say about the outcome of everything. The family, the attorney representing Tyler Wallace talked about coming to terms with the outcome today, maybe not necessarily the family feeling like they got justice, but that this is something that they will have to deal with and have to live with as the resolve for this case. And one of the things that really stood out to me is that a lot of the family and friends, mentioned the fact that the death penalty is off the table. He will spend the rest of his life in prison. A lot of them said that they hope that he has a very healthy life so that he has a long time to sit in jail and think about what he has, said that he has done to Maddie Soto. And so there was definitely a shift in the atmosphere when he began to give his statement to the judge.
I would imagine, though, it was pretty heavy in there the whole time. I mean, we heard the emotion and could see it from so many of those family members, those friends, those loved ones, all talking about how much they loved Maddie and how much they miss her.
Certainly so. When you heard from, I believe, two aunts, Tyler Wallace, Maddie's dad, and he talked about the last time that he had an opportunity to be with his daughter. He mentioned that, he kind of had a strained relationship, didn't have a chance to be in her life as much as he wanted. He said the last time he, spoke and saw what Maddie was during an October 2023 visit. And he talked about when I dropped her off at the airport, the last conversation that we had at that time was about living arrangements and if she wanted to come and live with him. And, according to Mr. Wallace, Maddie had wanted to potentially go live with her father. Fast forward to February 2024, only a few months later, she turned 13 and she was killed. And he talked about, we all unfortunately experience the impact of death and grief, but he says this is not like anything else because the longer I have to sit with everything that I know that she has experienced, the more difficult it becomes, really having a tough time managing grief. And you could hear that and how in his impact statement to the courtroom, and I believe he said something along the lines of not being able to see the woman my daughter would have grown up to be. And you can, I'm not a parent, but I can imagine how difficult that is as a parent, thinking of everything that I want my child to be, everything that my child has articulated to me that they want for themselves. And as a parent, I know my mom has dreams for me, and to have that cut short in that way was very difficult. And you could hear it in what he told the courtroom today.
Yeah, I will never meet the woman she was becoming. The quote from Tyler Wallace there, we talked about just how heartbreaking that was to hear about that.
Yeah, just it was you hit the nail on the head. Just a heavy day in court, in the moments of silence, as they were transitioning to the next person to come and give an impact statement. You could hear the sniffles of people crying. And after Tyler and his wife, Maddie's stepmom, went to go sit down, you could hear her begin to sob a little bit. I imagine it's layered. The anxiety of what today brings, having to get up and share your truth and your pain in front of the judge, in front of the courtroom, standing very close to the person who has, who was accused and is, he pled no contest, but ultimately, pled guilty to sexually abusing her for years. To be that close, just the weight and the emotions and I can't speak for the family. I don't know if it's a relief to have been able to say your piece to the person who was accused of doing this to your loved one, or just the weight of the adrenaline coming down from that moment. But there were a lot of tears in that courtroom today.
Yeah, and they certainly did not hold back, calling him a parasite, speaking of their hatred for him, calling him a creature. You do not deserve peace. You do not deserve mercy. One of the things that also struck me, may God forgive him, because I definitely do not. Talking about wanting him, talking specifically that and saying, they hope he lives a long life so that he can suffer for a long time as well. Well, Fox 35's Randy Hildreth, we appreciate you joining us and appreciate your coverage on this in court today.
Thank you.
We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
The state of Florida has a new chief financial officer. State Senator Blaise Ingoglia sworn in earlier today in a ceremony at the Cabinet Room inside the Florida State Capitol.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Blaise Ingoglia, do solemnly swear.
I, Blaise Ingoglia, do solemnly swear.
That I will support, protect, and defend.
That I will support, protect, and defend.
The Constitution and government of the United States.
The Constitution and government of the United States.
And of the state of Florida.
And of the state of Florida.
That I am duly qualified to hold office.
That I am duly qualified to hold office.
Under the Constitution of the state.
Under the Constitution of the state.
And that I will well and faithfully perform.
And that I will well and faithfully perform.
The duties of Chief Financial Officer.
The duties of Chief Financial Officer.
On which I am now about to enter.
Of which I am now about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Of course, Javante would have to shout out. It's just, Governor and First Lady, thank you. It has been an honor of my lifetime to work alongside you and to fight alongside of you. To my wife, my father, my family, thank you all for coming here. You know, being a legislator is a tough thing to do. We spend a lot of time away from home, and there has to be a reason why you do that. My why is everyone listening to my voice right now. My why is the taxpayers. My why is the people at home expecting elected officials to actually do what they say they are going to do when they campaign. It is an honor that this has been bestowed upon me, but I will not take this for granted. You are not going to see anyone fight harder for the taxpayer, for the consumer, than I will. And I'm planning on hitting the ground running. I'm going to wake up every day with one goal in mind: to make sure that we continue on this path that Governor DeSantis has laid us upon, and make sure this state continues to be the greatest state of the union and the greatest state we have ever seen. D.C. is going in a complete opposite direction of what Florida is. We have become the shining light for every other state out there. When Florida does something, other states listen. They try to copy and emulate. Florida is leading, and I look forward to continue to lead, to keep my campaign promises, to work hard for the people of the state of Florida, and make this place the best state to live, work, and play. Thank you to my family. Thank you to my friends. It is an honor. I will not let you down, Governor. Thank you, guys.
The ceremony, the swearing-in ceremony of Blaise Ingoglia, the new state CFO, earlier today. Governor Ron DeSantis also did speak at that ceremony. He's the one who appointed Ingoglia to that position, replacing Jimmy Patronis, who is now a member of Congress. DeSantis saying today during that ceremony that as CFO, Ingoglia is going to be a strong supporter of property tax reform, something the governor has been pushing for and pushing lawmakers to take action on. Also saying he will keep insurers honest. Well, that's going to do it for us here on Fox 35 News Plus. We appreciate you joining us today. Week is off to a strong start here on this Monday, and we appreciate you joining us. It has been a busy day here at Fox 35. But stay tuned for Fox 35 News at 5 for the latest news and weather and sports as well. We'll have more on Stephan Sterns, a number of other stories as well that we didn't even have the chance to get to here earlier today. So I'll go ahead and hand things off to Studio A. Back in Studio A today, John and Luann, for the start of Fox 35 News at 5, which begins in about 15 seconds right here on Fox Local. We'll see you tomorrow at 11, 2, and 4, and other times as needed here on Fox Local. Have a great day.
Right now on Fox 35 News at 5.
So I was this close to having my little girl, sir.
A family forever ripped apart.
I have so much hatred in my heart, specifically for